from the Austin Nature and Science Center. I'm glad you're here for another Wild Wednesday video. For this video, we're going to talk about a really interesting type of mollusk. Mollusks are a large group of invertebrates that don't have any kind of skeleton, meaning they are soft-bodied. That means they don't have an internal skeleton like you or me, and they also don't have an external skeleton like this beetle. Mollusks is a large group that includes octopus, squids, snails and slugs, and clams and oysters. That's a really big group, but what do you notice that's in common about all of these pictures? I see that most of them are taken underwater and that some of these animals have shells. The group of mollusks we're going to focus on today are called nudibranchs. These are sea slugs. There are over 3,000 species known around the world, and these beautiful slugs are known for their often striking colors and patterns. The name nudibranch comes from the Latin words for naked gills. With over 3,000 species, there's a lot of variety within nudibranchs, but they are all named for their exposed breathing structures. So in groups like the Dorid, they have gills that are exposed, and in the Aeolid group, there are serrata that are exposed. So Dorids have exposed gill clusters, and Aeolids have these serrata. Serrata actually serve a few different functions, but breathing is one of them. We'll get a little more into what some of their other functions are later. Nudibranchs live in oceans all over the world. So this includes oceans in the Arctic Sea, and then they live in the oceans of the more temperate areas in the northern hemisphere. They live along the tropics. They live in the temperate zones in the southern hemisphere, and they live in the Southern Ocean around Antarctica. Isn't that amazing? Not only do nudibranchs live in oceans all over the world, but they also live at different depths. The farther below the surface you swim, the more types of habitat you would pass through, and it seems like nudibranchs can exist in almost all of them. Most of them are found in intertidal zones and near the surface, but some of them, like this one here, can actually live more than 2,300 feet below the surface. That's more than 2 Eiffel Towers down. Lots of these sea slugs have really bright colors on their bodies. Does anybody remember the last video where I talked about animals with bright colors? Do you remember learning about poison dart frogs?
The warning messages on a frog's body are called aposematic coloration. It's a way that they send a message that they're dangerous to other animals.
So nudibranchs send the same kind of messages with their bright colors. Do you remember when I said that serrata have more than one function? Remember, those are these little appendages here on the ends of some of their bodies? Well, they also hold stinging cells that they can use to defend themselves. And just like the poison dart frogs, it's kind of interesting. They're not born with those stinging cells. They actually get them from the food that they eat. So they get these from eating corals and sea anemones and things like jellyfish. So these kinds of nudibranchs, the Dorids that don't have the serrata, they can sometimes excrete acids and mucuses to defend themselves. So lots of them have really bright coloring, and they have several different ways to protect themselves. Now that we know a lot about nudibranchs in general, I want to spend a few minutes going into a bit more detail in a few species that I think are really interesting. First up is the Spanish dancer. This is one of the largest nudibranchs that exist, and it's named after its resemblance to dresses worn in traditional Spanish dances like the flamenco. They really look like the ruffles of this dress, especially when they swim. They kind of flip their bodies back and forth like this, and it kind of looks like someone waving the edges of a skirt. Next up is a species called the blue glaucus. These are kind of staple nudibranchs when it comes to looking at amazing species. These have really long, beautiful serrata that extend kind of from the side of their body instead of from the top. And they pack a serious punch with their stinging cells because they get them from eating Portuguese man-o-war, which can be pretty dangerous on their own. This beautiful species of nudibranch is called the regal goddess, and I think the name kind of speaks for itself. But this slug can actually be found off the coasts of Florida. I wonder if you can guess what the name of this nudibranch might be. This is called the Pikachu nudibranch. That's right, it's named after its Pokemon look-alike. I wonder if that means that Pikachu has aposematic coloring too. This incredibly cute animal is called a leaf sheep, and it is a sea slug, but it's not technically a nudibranch, but it is just so cute and so similar that I couldn't help but include it. These are so small, they can only get to be 1 centimeter long. That's like my thumb is 2.5 centimeters, so 2.5 of those adorable leaf sheep could fit on my thumb just right there. Isn't that incredible? I just think that they are so cute. I really like the name too, leaf sheep. Thank you for joining me to learn about these amazing aquatic creatures today. I introduced a lot of new words, so let's go over a few of them. Nudibranch are the stars of this video. Those are the sea slugs. They have 2 different specific groups, the dorids and the eolids. Remember that the dorids are the groups that only have 1 gill cluster, usually toward the back of their body, and the eolids are the kind that have serrata on the top of their body. Those are those extensions that help them to breathe and also hold those stinging cells. Well, if you enjoyed hearing about nudibranchs from me today, remember there are thousands more species that you could continue to learn about if you want to. Well, thanks for learning with me today. I'll see you next time. Bye!
Head over to our Facebook page to see more awesome daily videos posted.